One of the questions I always enjoy pondering about my life is how my siblings and my parents' musical tastes had an impact on me. And as I journey through my LPs, I realize very literally how much their music did impact me and how some of this is their music. So it's still having an effect on me. REO Speedwagon, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. I know this isn't mine. I think this was my sister's. She was really into REO Speedwagon, especially their live album. Roll with the Changes, Time for Me to Fly. Lots of later REO classics on that album. Ooh, one of my favorites from the 80s, The Smiths, The Queen is Dead. I really was sort of a latecomer to the Smiths, but I sure appreciate them. This might have been the first Smiths album that I bought. Big Mouth Strikes Again, I think, is on here. Cemetery Gates, The Queen is Dead. And The Boy with the Thorn in His Side. Great songs on here. Morrissey has such a discontent about his lyrics and embodies such a self-loathing, but with again that British sense of humor. Johnny Marr's guitar is just such a great counter to Morrissey and his gloominess. Johnny Marr's guitar always had such an upbeat, positive, pleasant sound to it. So there's great tension in the Smiths. Obviously, it's probably why they aren't together anymore. Heaven 17's debut album. Love this cover. It's so 80s, isn't it? I bought it because of the song Let Me Go. It's probably still my favorite Heaven 17 song. But some other good tunes on here: Geisha Boys and Temple Girls, Penthouse and Pavement. Good electro synth pop group, Heaven 17. Love them. Another Foreigner album. I was really into Foreigner when I was in high school. This is their third album, I think. I think it's their third album. Head Games is on here. I didn't love this album. Love on the Telephone is a good song. Rev on the Red Line, that's one of my favorite Foreigner songs, Rev on the Red Line. Last song on the album, but just kind of a cool groove to it. I like the guitar in it. So another Foreigner album. The Carpenters, The Singles. This was playing a lot in my house growing up. I think my parents loved them, and my brother Keith loved them, and loved this album. So many beautiful tunes on here. Karen Carpenter had such a great voice, and it's one of the sounds of the 70s for me. So I love the Carpenters, The Singles. This is not mine, but I think it's pretty cool that I have it. Foghat Live. My brother Mark had this album, and there's a long version of Slow Ride on here, and I remember hearing this a lot in the house when I was a kid. So Foghat Live, it's kind of a fun part of my collection. Amy Grant, The Collection. If you're in the seminary back in the 80s, you kind of had to at least dabble with some Amy Grant music. She was one of the more mainstream Christian artists, and really has a beautiful voice and some nice tunes on here. So I had my Amy Grant phase, following that with the Amy Grant Christmas album. This might have been what did me in, because I'm never much of a fan of any rock artists or commercial artists doing a Christmas album. I kind of prefer the classic Christmas sound. So Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense. Great live versions of some Talking Heads classics. Once in a Lifetime, for example. Burning Down the House. Great versions, live versions of those Talking Heads hits that are so enduring. Oh, okay, another Amy Grant album, Unguarded. I can hardly even tell you a song that's on here. Maybe if I've ever... Find a Way. That's a nice song. Everywhere I Go. You might have heard that one. Sometimes that's been played in church in the past. The last one I know is not mine. I think it must have been my mom and dad's. The Young Americans, presented by Johnny Mathis. But the older I get, the more I appreciate these classic vocal albums from the 60s and the 70s, partly because we heard a lot of this growing up, and partly just because it's great music, and I enjoy that it's part of American life in the 20th century, part of the legacy of good music these days.